All right, here we are. Good evening and welcome to Showtime TV. I'm your host, Omar Rashada. Today's date is August the 30th, 2023. And yes, the summer is just going by so fast, man. I tell you, time is going by fast. By any event, I have a very special guest. I've known this gentleman for quite some time. Matter of fact, he's a role model and martial arts instructor. He was tough on me, y'all. I just did 30 push-ups. Nah. This guy, he's an awesome brother. He's a martial artist. He's into the Word of God. He's a student. Going up from the east side, we have Kiyoshi Quinton Massey. Kiyoshi, good evening, and thank you for being a guest on tonight's program.
Good evening, sir. It's a pleasure to be on your program, and it's good seeing you.
Likewise. Let's start off with your background. As I just mentioned, you grew up on the east side. So tell us, what was it like growing up on the east side? Were you involved with sports? What were your neighborhood friends like? Did you go to People's Settlement or Warner Street Wide? Just give us a breakdown.
All right, my background, I was born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware on the east side on Macaulay Street, way before it became Macaulay Court. And Macaulay Street was a street where everybody knew everybody. It was very family oriented. And after school, I went to Stubbs Elementary School, and they always had after school programs over to the school, so the children always felt safe. And so back then, in the early 70s, if you got out of line, your neighbors were allowed to correct you. Nowadays, no one can correct. You know, it's like against the law to hit a child, to snatch a child up, to use a sharp tone at a child. But when I was coming up, everybody, all the adults looked out or had your best interest at hand. So I played baseball. I played softball in Little League for many years. It was started out with Bethel Blazers. Bethel AME Church sponsored us, and then from Bethel Blazers we went to People's Settlement. We were called People's Settlement Association, also known as PSA. Softball team, and then from People's Settlement, then we became Eastside Connection, and we went many years undefeated. And so we had our home place was Stubbs Elementary School, or Kirkwood Street Park, excuse me.
Kirkwood Street Park, right.
So whenever we played at home, the whole neighborhood, we're talking about maybe 300, 400 people would pack out the park, especially when we played Kingswood.
Oh yeah.
And that was a robbery. We played Kingswood. I mean, the park you thought it was a parade. It was so many people. We were literally, we were like 9, 10 years old. But we do miss those. I definitely miss those things, the sports, inner city sports, because it gave children hope. It gave children a connection. You made a lot of friends. The parents knew each other. And Eastside was a community. Nobody was getting killed back then. You had a small fight, you were friends the next day. And so I missed the East Side. I missed I missed that version of East Side.
right. Well, you mentioned Kingswood. My two uncles played for Kingswood. Of course, you know Glenn and Garland Pennington. So I remember going to their games. East Side and Riverside.
Yes,
that was a battle. But just listen to you speak. 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s, 50s, whatever. It was a sense of community, like you said. Everybody knew everybody.
Absolutely.
And people protected each other's turfs, so it was like a family, right? So
yes.
In today's time, I mean, you don't have a Walnut Street wide sports team, Kingswood community team, a People's Settlement team.
People's Settlement, no, you don't have that. No.
Yeah, Jackson Street Boys Club closed. I think Brown Boys Club's still open. That's where I went, but I don't know if it's just not the same. So do you think that not having those sports or not having those activities in the inner city can kind of like is a risk for the children to be misbehaved, if you will?
Well, because there was, whenever we had the after school programs or after school sports, there was always adults or older teenagers monitoring us. Now, if a single mom has to work 2 jobs, she gets off at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. The child is left alone, sometimes being raised by the older siblings, and they might ask the neighbors to watch out, but that may or may not happen, and the child is roaming. I mean, 7, 8 years old, and there's nobody home, or 7, 8 years old, and teenagers are not responsible or accountable, then you're kind of left on your own, to your own devices. And
Right.
so, you're at high risk to get involved in a lot of things, because there's a lot of older people in the community that can influence you, good or bad.
Right. Absolutely. So when you became a teenager, what middle school did you go to, and what high school did you go to, and were you involved in sports?
I continued playing baseball in high school, but I went from Stubbs Elementary to Garger Middle School, a school with no windows.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's when they
Wow.
started the busing. So
Oh, okay.
I walked to Stubbs Elementary. It was like maybe I
Right around the
don't know,
corner, right?
500 feet from a front door. So
Oh,
that
okay.
was a culture shock, going from my neighborhood, going to school in my neighborhood, to getting on the yellow school bus for the first
Right.
time and traveling all the way down 95
Into
to
Newark, yeah.
Garger, to Garger Middle School. And you're
Wow.
interacting with different cultures for the first time, and that
Right.
was difficult because many of the Caucasian, young children, they didn't understand my culture, and I didn't understand their culture. But
Right.
I
Right.
was always open-minded. I wanted to get to know, but when you start touching my hair and uh, asking me why is it so stiff, and why is my skin so brown, I found that very offensive.
Right. Absolutely. So what about high school?
High school, Glasgow High School. I went to Glasgow High School. I
That's
continued
really
playing.
far. Man,
Yes,
that's far. That's
there,
that's
down
Route
near
40.
Middletown. Yes, so I went to Glasgow High School. I played baseball all 4 years, and I played football 1 year. Met some dynamic friends. To this day, I'm still friends with many of my high school alumni,
Right.
because
Oh, awesome.
I'm a people person, so I made friends.
Right. Now you mentioned People's Settlement, and right across the street from People's Settlement is the historic Bancroft. Did you go to Bancroft?
No, I did not go to Bancroft.
Wow. Okay.
I went to Stubbs Elementary, because you went to the school that was closest to your house.
Right.
So
So that was an elementary school back then. Okay. Okay.
yes, elementary school, yes.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. Oh yeah, because I think they recently named the street after the legendary Mr. Pritchard, and there's some concern about the school being named after Mr. Maurice, or the Dr. or Mr. Maurice Pritchard. So I think it should just do. I mean, he was a pioneer in the community. I don't know if you knew him or if you
My
ran
mother did.
across him. Mother, okay,
Yes.
yeah. So I mean, he's a legend. So it would be great, to have a school, especially being named after the African American male, because it's very rare that you see a school named after, one of us. So.
Yes, and also, if you don't mind, I want to interject.
Sure.
I remember in Stubbs Elementary that when we had Black History Month, there were posters and pictures throughout the
Okay.
hallway. We had, I would say, 90% of our teachers were African American.
Oh,
The,
wow.
the men wore suits and ties, and
Wow.
shine shoes.
Mm.
And the women wore nice dresses and skirt sets and blouses, and hair was always done. We never had a raggedy teacher. The teacher
Right.
I'm seriously, the teacher was always well groomed, and it
Professional.
gave
Yeah.
us inspiration. We wanted to be like them.
Right.
Then when
Absolutely.
the busing started, it was a totally different atmosphere.
Yeah. So you probably didn't see like maybe no more than 2 or 3 Black teachers, if that.
If that, it was 80% white, and the 15% Black, and then that other percentage other.
Right. Wow. So you and I met, man, maybe 2000. I think it was 2005. 2005, 2006, whatever. You were a martial arts instructor. You were a thing called Sensei Quinton Massey. You was teaching at the church off of 4th Street, if I can
Yes, so
remember.
4th and Market, yes, sir. 4th and
Yeah,
Market,
yes,
yes.
yes. So before we get into that a little deeper, how did you get involved in the martial arts?
Um, almost 35 years ago, I was coming home from Philadelphia, and I at that time I lived on 9th and Madison with my grandmother, and
Okay.
I noticed this white car passing by 2 or 3 times, and I really didn't pay any mind, because I'm like a sports figure, I thought, as a youngster in the city of Wilmington. So a lot of people know my father and my mother. So I didn't think of anything of it. So after the car passed me, a bunch of young guys came out, got out the car and walked past me and kind of ran to the corner and then disappeared. So I'm
Right.
almost home. So when I got to the corner, there was on the corner of 9th and Madison, there was a row of shrubbery. So when I got to the corner and I turned the corner, I heard all this tussling going on in the shrubbery. I didn't know what it was. And Lord and behold, at least 7 youngsters, I think they were like preteens, jumped out with ski masks. And one of them had a gun.
Oh,
And the boy put the gun to my nostril
wow.
and using profanity. And they had high-pitched voices, so I knew they were children. Using profanity, demanding my my garments as well as my money, as well as my garment bag.
Mm.
Well, I think I was 19 going on 20 years old. And at that time, I didn't have the mature mindset that I have now. So it's kind of funny. Now, when I look back, I had a long leather trench coat on
Right.
that I bought from Value City.
Oh,
And I
okay.
put that coat on layaway.
Right. So you
And
work
they
hard for
said,
that coat.
they said, give me your coat. Well, first of all, it was cold outside. That was number
Right.
one. And number two, I spent a lot of money, my money, to get that coat. I wasn't giving my coat up.
Right.
And I didn't give my coat up. And I only had $20 to my name. I wasn't giving my $20 up.
Right.
So at that time, my mindset was, if you're going to kill me, you're going to kill me with the coat on. Not the wisest decision. Thank God they didn't kill me.
Right. Right. Right.
But one of the I never found out who they were. One of the young men, when the neighbors began to turn on the lights, porch lights and things, open up the doors, start yelling, they begin to back off. But one of the young men grabbed a table leg that was probably in somebody's yard, and
Right.
he came around the telephone pole and hit me on the side of my eye
Oh,
with
wow.
a table leg.
Oh,
And then
that could
another
take your
young
eye.
and then another young man grabbed a cinder block and tried to crush my skull.
Oh,
And I had no martial arts background. All I knew was just curl up in the ball, and I put my arm up, and the whole cinder block broke across my arm.
mm.
And by the grace of God, I didn't suffer any interruption with my visual.
Mm.
I wasn't visually impaired. My eye did swell up, and nor did I get hit in the head. And I was able to survive. And
Right.
that's what prompted me to get involved in the martial arts, because I realized that, times had changed. People were getting robbed.
Right.
More than I can recall. It had never happened to me, and I felt so victimized.
Right. Did you ever
And
call the police?
yeah, we called the police, and they showed up, 45 minutes later,
Oh, wow.
and talking to them. They would take, can you identify the people? Is their ski mask on? Is this your first time being? Actually, the generic questions, trying to,
Right.
get to it. And they called me about maybe 2 weeks later because it happened to someone else. And they said, if we have these young men in a lineup, could you identify them? I said no, because I couldn't see them. They had ski masks on.
Right. Right.
So I got it. That's what propelled me to get involved in the martial arts. And my first instructor was Steve Price, Shion Steve Price at Kingswood Community Center.
Right. Right. So your martial arts, when I met you, was Goju-Ryu. Was that the martial arts that you stuck with from the time you started to the current?
Yes. I started out. I've always been involved in Goju. That's my basis. I was the name of the system that I started out with was called Scream Kido Goju.
Right.
My teacher was known as Screaming Tiger, real big guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I sought out the toughest sensei I could find, because I didn't want to be a victim again.
Oh, okay. Wow. So yeah, he was a tough man.
He was very tough.
I didn't know him personally, but I heard of him.
He was very tough.
How long were you under his teachings, and did you move on to other instructors?
Absolutely. I was under his teachings about 4 years, about 4.5, almost 5 years under his teachings. And then he joined another federation called U.S. Budokai Con. And that was under Grandmaster Rico Guy in New York City.
Yeah, he's tough.
And so we start traveling back and forth to New York to train with Grandmaster Rico Guy in jiu-jitsu and the sword and another type of goju, if you will.
Okay.
And then from there, after I trained with Steve Price and Grandmaster Rico Guy, and then I met the infamous Hanchi Benny Zip Young at the Rose Hill Community Center.
Right.
So I became one of his disciples and one of his students, and then I trained with him for 20 something years.
And you became his number one student, right?
Yes, his top student. Yes, that's very true. Yes, and he was very. I mean, he was talking about discipline. Boy, he was almost like military training. I mean, he was very, very tough.
So let me ask you, being his number one student, what was that like? Were you thrilled? Were you happy? I mean, because you talking about a sensei who was well known, probably one of the top senseis, if not the top senseis, at least in Delaware. And you as number one student, that's pretty big accomplishment.
It was an honor training with the late Grandmaster Benny Zip Young. He taught me so much about the martial arts, and then he introduced to his friends who were also masters in their art. So he helped me to branch out and meet more people in New York and Baltimore and Philadelphia and New Jersey. I mean, so many connections. He taught a very eclectic version of Goju. I mean, his motto was, if the technique doesn't work in the street, he would say it's garbage. But but I guess I said it. Yeah, he would say it's garbage. He said, I'm going to teach you how to defend yourself against multiple attackers. And boy, did I go! Many nights I left home with bruises and bumps, but I learned what it felt like to be hit in the chest, to be kicked to the body, to be thrown across the table, to be snatched backwards out the chair.
Right.
So I appreciate I appreciate that foundation.
So under Master Steve Price, is that when you first got your black belt? Let's talk about your stages of black belts, because I believe when I first met you in 2009, you were fifth dan. So talk about going from first dan to fifth dan, and then maybe within the last year or two, you became Kiyoshi. Let's talk about it.
All right. So I started out with Steve Price at Kingswood Community Center and received tutelage under Grandmaster Rico Guy. While at Kingswood, Steve Price taught me kata. He introduced me to martial arts style fighting on that hard marble floor at the WHA building over there in Kingswood. Right. And so it was 4 years of rigorous training. We fought in New York, which is so many tournaments, and we had some very good classmates, Sensei Ernest Wilson, as well as Sensei Craig Carrington. Those are my classmates. And also the late Sensei Ken Davis, Sensei Frank Cooper, call him Bruiser. Those are all my classmates, and they were rumblers. And I was young, and I wasn't as large as I am now. And boy, they being swept on a hard floor with no mats.
Yeah, that hurt your back.
Oh yeah. You learn, you learn to appreciate the floor, and you also learn you learn how to block. But you also learn how, if as much they give it to you, you learn how to give it back. That was the motto. They give it, how they come at you, but give it back. Right. And so when I got my black belt from Steve Price, the late Grandmaster Robert Jock Taylor was present, still alive at that time, and he was at our promotion. It was me, Ernest Wilson, and a lady named Casey White. The three of us, we tested for the showdown level back in 1993 or 1994, I think it was. Oh, okay. Yes, and the gymnasium was jam packed. Awesome. And they wanted to see what we're doing, what's going on in Kingswood. Well, we fought for it was about 3 hours. It seemed like it was brutal. It was brutal. That's a long time, man. It was a long time. It was a long test, very rigorous. And from there, I remained with Steve Price, became one of the assistant instructors and one of his top students. And then from there, continued on with him. And then, when you get to a crossroads, sometimes you have to, gracefully bow out and keep on going in a different direction. And that's what I did. And that's when I met Hanchi Zip I've been young at the Rose Hill Community Center, and he took me further. And then from him, when he maxed out in terms of, he said, "I've taught you all I can teach you. I'm going to introduce you to my friends." That's when I met Shion Terry Hayford and Hanchi Carrie Rosenoff from Massachusetts, and Greg Duncan from New York. And so it began to splinter out. And then he introduced his friends in New Jersey, Hanchi Anthony or Tony Lingo, and Master James Thornton, and Master Ozzy Wright, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
Right. You met a lot of legends.
Yes, a lot of legends, absolutely. And so I continue to get promotions. I was teaching a lot, teaching children, teaching teenagers, teaching adults, and then continue on.
Yeah, well, I mean, to get to the point where you got some recent promotion, was a year ago? Was it this year? Was it last year when you got Kiyoshi promoted for Kiyoshi?
That was when was that? That was last year. That was last year when I got promoted to the Kiyoshi rank. And what happened with that was that my teacher became terminally ill, and he told me, as well as his closest network of friends, that in the event that I should pass away, Q was taken up. Q is my number one student, and the system goes to him. And that's basically what happened. And so I had a very large promotional ceremony in Philadelphia at Grandmaster Ozzy Wright's school.
Okay.
So many grandmasters were present there for this celebration. And they bestowed the rank of 7th degree black belt as Kiyoshi to be the head of University of Martial Arts and Science system. And so I gladly accepted it, and I continue teaching and carrying on continue teaching the principles that my teacher taught me, and many of his friends who oversee me or watch out for me, or provide tutoring tutoring and wisdom on an as needed basis.
Right. So let's go back for a moment.
Sure.
To the Kiyoshi promotion. So I would assume that you either got an email or a phone call from one of the masters. I'm not sure who it was. You can talk about it to say, "Hey, we want to promote you to Kiyoshi," right? So you get off the phone or you read the email. Man, what was that feeling like?
I was nervous.
Okay.
I was nervous because, to walk in, to even think about walking in the shoes of Benny Young.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about a grandmaster with over 55 years of experience.
Right.
I mean, East Coast champion. Fighting the Madison Square Garden. One of Jock Taylor's number one students.
Right.
To carry his legacy, that's a very large responsibility.
Right.
And one thing I said at my ceremonial speech was that I'm going to need you all's support. I haven't been doing this as long as you all have, and if you see me not as a humble warrior, and I become inflated, or my ego becomes inflated, or anytime I become arrogant, please check me. I'd rather be checked by the grandmasters than be checked by the police.
Well, I don't see that happening. That's not your personality. It never has been. No, so you mentioned being a teacher. You were my teacher. You were teaching at Rose Hill Communities Center under Kuno Muchi-Ryu, which was a martial arts system that you have founded. So what's it like being a martial arts teacher? You talked about being a student, but being a teacher is a whole other level. It's big responsibilities, and you got to teach those that are children, teenagers, and adults. Talk about your experience being a teacher.
As a teacher, it's like being a farmer. You till the ground, you plant the seed, you water the seed, you nurture the seed, and you wait and watch the growth process. That's basically what it is.
Right.
But there's work. I mean, you have to break up the ground. I mean, so students come in, children come in with behavior problems, adults come in with a tinge of ego.
Mhm.
Women, some women come in telling you what they're not good at and what they want to do, even though
Right.
you're the instructor. So you have to, we have one of our sayings is, when you come to the dojo door, empty your cup.
Leave
Because
everything else behind.
because I can't pour nothing into you if the cup is already full.
Right.
You have to empty your cup. So let me share my knowledge and experience with you, and maybe we could grow together, and
Right.
maybe we could build a sensei to student relationship. I
Absolutely.
can learn from you, and you can learn from me.
Right. There are many who are adults now that start off as children in martial arts. They were going to, as you mentioned, Kingswood Community Center, that they maybe, I know some that were going on at People's Settlement, um, maybe some William Hicks Anderson Community Center. But in today's time, I really don't see too much martial arts in the city. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there any martial arts schools in the inner city of Wilmington, if you
The
will?
only community center that I'm aware of that still has that just started a martial arts program back up is one at William Hicks Community Center. And I
Okay.
believe that Sensei Craig Currington is the sensei who's running the program there.
Oh, okay.
I know that Sensei Kenneth Everett has a school down at the riverfront.
Yeah, yeah.
Me and Sensei Ernest Wilson, our school is on 10B Lee Boulevard, right around the corner from
Market
McDonald's
Street.
on
Yeah.
Market Street. So there's pockets. There's pockets. It's almost like you have to know somebody to
Right.
to get in. Because
Right. Yeah.
we're different. We're of a different generation. We're
Yeah.
not Grandmaster Jock Taylor. We're not Hanchi Benny Young. We're not Grandmaster Buddy Gray. We're not Professor Amin Hassan. We're a different generation. And so therefore, the martial arts culture has changed.
Right.
In the 70s and 80s and early 90s, it was like Bruce Lee, Kung Fu fighting. It was the excitement. It was, Hollywood really put it out there. And people were
Right.
excited to do martial arts, nunchucks and the bow staff and things of such, and flying through the air, doing fancy kicks. But
Right.
now, mixed martial arts, kickboxing is more
Right.
popular.
Right.
So
I remember interviewing, not to cut you off, Grandmaster Buddy Gray. He was telling me, when he was growing up, they had no pads, no type of headgear or nothing. They just fought. They just fought like they was fighting in the street. And he was saying that in today's time, that the students wouldn't be able to handle that. So man, that's a lot of growth. But also, in terms of the fighting, the kicking and punching, you also pretty much mastered the weapons. What made you get involved with weapons? You got to talk about that.
actually, I started learning weapons in Philadelphia under Shion Terry Hayford, who trained in Aiki Jiu-Jitsu and Ninjutsu and things of such. So we only learned just the combat portion of weapons.
Okay,
But then
gotcha.
when I met Kiyoshi Tyrone Wiggins, he was the one who introduced me to Okinawan Kobudo, or Okinawan weapons, more of the traditional styles with the katas. And I actually
Right.
met him through Professor Amin Hassan.
Oh,
He
okay.
brought him down from Philadelphia down to Delaware at his house. And a few of the masters or senseis, we went to Professor Amin's house, and that's what we started learning the traditional weapons. It was through the connection from Professor Amin. He made the connection, and I
Right.
just took it further. I started traveling back and forth to Philadelphia learning, and after years of 15 years training with that instructor, now I have a new instructor, weapons instructor named Sensei Michael Nervell, and he's located in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh,
So I've been to St. Louis three times.
wow.
I have a black belt in another weapon system. So I have a few black belts.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, you came a tremendous way with the Kiyoshi and the weapons. That is awesome. You mentioned your father. You know, for those who there were several times, you know, during lunchtime on Wednesdays at Performers Market, and I often see your father. I think he sells food. He's there, but you know, he's a big name in the city of Wilmington. Talk about the influence that your father has brought to you, because he's a very positive brother, very outgoing. He knows a lot of people. He's humble, and I see a lot of the traits that he has that you have. So talk about your father, Mr. Massey.
My father, Edward Massey, also known as, some people call him Dewani, you know, but nowadays he's known as Mr. Yummy Tummy.
Oh, okay, yeah,
He has his
right.
own gourmet food business. He does go to Rodney Square on Wednesdays for lunchtime, and he's very popular with the food, his seafood sandwiches and his turkey hoagies and his
Oh, okay,
jerk chicken
yeah.
hoagies and his fruit salad and seafood dip and his famous Bahama Mama iced tea.
Oh man,
But
okay.
besides his whole menu, number one, the food is good, and he has an excellent personality. I mean, he loves sales and he loves people, and I pick up that trait in terms of, I love people. I love helping people. I mean, not only has he's done so many jobs. Once before he was a school teacher.
Okay.
Back in the day, a tutor. So he's very, 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 very intelligent, very smart, and he makes the connections with the community. And one thing he taught me, he said that where other restaurant owners wouldn't dare go down on in certain parts of the Wilmington, or where areas where the crime is high risk,
Right.
where there's the drugs and known drug addicts out in the community, whether daytime or nighttime. He goes out and meet the people where they're at to
Yeah.
make a connection, to make the people still feel human when everyone else has turned their back.
Wow.
He comes home with amazing testimonies about who he connected with, who he helped out, and who helped him out.
Right. Awesome. Now I want to talk about spirituality / religion a little bit, because when I first met you, I believe you were a deacon at Ezon, the church that's right around the corner from the Brandywine. Is it Mount Ezon, Mount Carmel? You were a deacon there, if I stand corrected?
Yeah, we're going to correct you, no problem. Yeah. I
Okay,
wasn't
all
when
right.
you first met me. I wasn't.
Okay.
When I first met you, I was not a deacon. Number one.
Okay.
No, no. I was no. When I first met you, I was. Yes, I take it back. When I first met you on Fourth and Market, I was a deacon.
Okay, all right. Okay.
At Fourth and Market, that's when I was under the leadership of Bishop Terrence B. Walker at that
Yes.
time. I was a deacon there. Sorry about that, brother.
Right.
And then I became a licensed minister,
Oh, okay.
a preacher.
Right.
Yeah, under Lifeline Outreach Ministries at Fourth and Market. And
Right.
from there, then years later, I joined New Mount Olive Baptist Church.
Yeah, that's what New Mount Olive. Yes.
That's 14th and Market Street under the spiritual guidance of Pastor Lamina Johnson Smith.
Okay.
And that's where I currently fellowship at. I'm a member there. I'm one of the associate ministers there at New Mount Olive Baptist Church under Pastor Smith. I'm not the pastor. She's the pastor.
Okay, got you. Okay, yeah. I think in the promotion of the show, I put you down as Pastor.
Yes, you did.
But I did that because let's talk about your education, because you had a bachelor's degree in biblical studies, I believe a master's, and then also talk about that doctorate. So let's start off from the bachelor's on up to the doctorates. Where'd you get your bachelor's? What was your major? What was the reason why you majored in that? And so on.
Well, I received my bachelor's and my master's in biblical studies. Okay. And one because I was not the best student. As they would say, I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer at that time. But thanks be to God, I had a desire to learn. Right. And I had a hunger to grow. And I met a lady by the name of Pamela Scott.
Okay.
and she became my writing coach, like my private English teacher,
Right. Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
she played a very integral part in my overall growth, especially now that I'm almost completed my doctorate degree, and yes, in biblical and ministry, almost done. So I'll be finished up the last touches on that over the next couple of weeks, and I'll be Reverend Dr. Quinton Edward Massey, big title, yes. But
Oh man.
with that big title, I still want to remain a humble servant.
Right.
I never want the title to go to my head. I want to remain a humble servant and meet people where they're at, and preach a message of hope.
Right. Now, where'd you go to college at?
I went to Calvary Bible Institute.
Okay.
Their home base was in Dover, Delaware, and then Pastor Vincent Oliver started a branch in Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay. Right.
And then they broke off from that branch and started their own school. Now I'm a member of New Calvary School of Ministry, where Bishop Vincent Oliver is the bishop, or the founder of the school, and Reverend Dr. Steve Wright is the dean.
Right. Okay. So you're also part of the. Are you part of the administrative staff there, or part of the committee or something?
Yes, I'm one of the adjunct professors. I'm one of the teachers. So I'm a teacher and a student.
Mhm. Oh wow. So,
So from doing from writing papers, grading papers, doing martial arts. I'm married.
busy.
I wear multiple hats.
Right. Right. So let me ask you, as I was thinking, you're gonna get your doctorate degree soon. Going back to the top of the program, we talked about you being from the East Side, being raised and born on the East Side. Have you ever sat back and thought, well, I grew up in the inner city of the East Side. Now I'm a Kiyoshi. I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree, and I have a doctoral degree. I'm coming from the inner city of Wilmington, about to get my doctoral degree. Man, do you ever sit back and say, man, look what I've done?
I give more credit to my teachers of
Okay.
the principles that they instilled in me. One of my first baseball coach, his name is Anthony Powell, and one of the things he taught us is that we noticed that we were afraid to stand in front of the ball. What he would do is get on the pitcher's mound and have us stand behind home plate, and there was a fence behind us, and he would smack line drives to us. He said, "Stand in front of the ball and stop being afraid." He said,
Mhm.
how can you be in the field and scared of the ball? And when he taught us that principle, I learned to stand in the midst of adversity, stand in the midst of obstacles, remain steadfast, unmovable, staying focused, staying goal-oriented. So regardless of what your background is, how you started out, it does not determine your future. Your starting point, you might start out fearful. You might start out with no baseball cleats or no glove or raggedy jeans or hand-me-downs, but that's not your future. Everybody has a starting point. And he taught us, I want you to go as fast as you can from home plate to first base. We had to do laps, do drills. And he blow the whistle, set the timer, see how fast you can get from home to first. And he said, what'd you learn? We said, how to run fast. He said, no. He said, you have to put forth the effort to dig. Use your cleats and dig in that dirt. He said, when it's raining out, when it's muddy out, you might fall, but get back up and get on base.
Yeah.
So my teachers, Benny Young, shared with me. He said, Q, he called me Q. He said, Q, what are you afraid of? Don't be afraid of no big man. They can fall too. He said, so if you have to, break him down. So that coincides with my giants. No matter how big my giant is, no matter how large my financial debt is, he taught me how to break it down. The debt might be very big and it seems insurmountable, However, what my teachers taught me, stand there, break it down, figure out a way to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's your future goals? I mean, you're a Kiyoshi, you're soon to be a doctorate. How far you want to go? What's your future look like? Do you want to be a bishop? Do you want to be a apostle? I mean, just what are your future goals?
Well, after I complete my degree, my doctoral degree, my next step is to join Toastmasters to become to better my skills, my oracle skills, for speaking on stages and a larger platform.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, I'm gonna get a certificate in Christian counseling, because a lot of people come to me asking a whole bunch of questions
Right.
about a whole lot of different types of storms, and I don't always have the answer, but I want to know how to approach it the correct way. So I need some more tools so I can help more people.
Mhm.
And then after that, if the Lord says so, to happen to be an under shepherd or pastor of church, I'll do that as well.
Right. I remember this might be like 6, 7 years ago when I interviewed you and several other martial artists on Channel 28.
I remember that.
Talked about the martial arts, and then Kiyoshi Benny Young said you should have asked y'all what the martial arts do for y'all personally, in terms of, for example, does it make you more humble? Does it make you more disciplined? So let me ask you as we close out the show, what have martial arts done to you in regards? I mean, physically, we know you're a bad boy on the floor, but in terms of mentally, what has it done to you mentally or professionally?
Mentally, it definitely made me more aware of my surroundings, and I learned not to underestimate people. In terms of, some people can put on a good facade. They can look very good and seem harmless. But I learned in this journey that there are some women who's able to do some serious bodily harm,
Mhm.
as well as some men that might appear to be slow because of their size, or they might appear to be an easy target because they're shorter or they're frail. No, no, no. No, 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 no. You don't, like I teach my students, you want to respect the warrior that's in front of you, or on the side of you, or
Right.
behind you. Never say what they can or they cannot do. Respect people, and prayerfully you'll get the same in return. However, you want to show mercy. However, if they continue with their threats, and they continue with their intent to hurt, to do bodily harm, the first thing you want to do is call on God. The second thing you want to do is call the police or the paramedics or the mortuary. Don't call the mortuary. No, but no. So what I learned about awareness. I learned to respect people and their space, and I'll also learn to remain humble as you climb this ladder of success in the martial arts, because there's always someone out there better than you, have more skills than you, and all it takes is one strike in the right area, and your life can be over.
Right, right. Okay, you mentioned martial arts school, so mention it once again. What are the times and days that you and Sensei Ernie Wilson teach class, and where it's located again? And then for those who may be interested in seeking a degree in biblical studies at the same facility where you teach and go to school at, how can they enroll in that program?
All right. So in terms of the martial arts, Sensei Ernest Wilson has classes on Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. for children. I teach an advanced class for adults on Thursdays only right now from 6 to 7. And I also teach Okinawan Kobudo on Saturdays at the same dojo from 1 to 3. And that address is 10B, B as in boy, Lee Boulevard, Wilmington, Delaware, 19802. However, after I complete my degree, I will extend my hours. So I might throw a Tuesday in there, have a little more time.
Right.
I just can't do it full time like I used to.
Right. Okay. In terms of biblical studies, for those who may want to see, I believe your program has associates, bachelor's, master's, and doctorals. Am I staying correct?
Right. They offer an associate's degree, they offer a bachelor's degree, they offer a master's degree, as well as a doctorate degree in the biblical studies. And the pastor is Bishop Vincent Oliver, and that's located on Hill Street and South Bridge. You can call the church and get more information about the schooling and the upcoming registration. New Calvary Baptist Church. New Calvary Baptist Church.
All right. And what is your dissertation on?
My dissertation is on Holy Communion. Is it still sacred in today's church?
Oh, that's
Holy
awesome.
Communion, is it still sacred in today's church?
And so you have to
briefly,
present that, right? You have to present that in front of the committee.
yes. And but part of my research was to interview 10 different pastors from 10 different Christian denominations and get their perspective of, has Holy Communion changed from the time they were a pastor, of time they were young, up to today's generation? In today's church, what have you seen? Have you seen a decline, or have you seen, is it been congruent? Is it steady? Or what has been your findings?
Right. Awesome. That is awesome. All right, so before we leave, for those who may want to contact you, you have the contact information, and then give us some words of encouragement as we close out.
All right. I want to encourage you all that, if you choose to do the martial arts, just know that you want to empty your cup. That means empty your mind and present an empty cup to be filled with new knowledge, new principles on how to defend yourself, but also how to carry yourself. That's for the martial arts. In terms of spirituality, put God first in all that you do and realize that God is much bigger than you.
Absolutely. Okay, so for those who may want to contact you, you want to email, phone number, Facebook, whatever, how you want to.
I'm on Facebook, Quinton Massey. You see my face. My face is on the Facebook page. My telephone number is 302-562-4479. Once again, 302-562-4479.
All right. So I see you with the frames. Well, that's the first time I see some frames. They new, or is that
these are called readers.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sensei Kiyoshi, Quinton Massey, my special guest this evening. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you, Sensei, for being a guest, and I'll be seeing you around.
Thank you, sir. Peace and blessings.
All right. Us.